Hello everyone, my name is SwingPoynt and welcome to Outriders. This here is my melee endgame Devastator build. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the class tree, I'm going to show you the skills, I'm going to show you the inventory, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like in a game so you can actually see it in action. Okay? One thing to address is all the legendaries in the room. Trust me, I know the pain of, oh man, I want to find something cool for my character, but I don't have time to farm all this crap. That's okay. Video in the description, you can go ahead and click that. It's also a melee build that I made, except it's for gear that isn't so great. It'll get you on your journey up to CT15 so you can start more reliably farming legendaries, okay? So with that, let's get started with the class tree and talk about why do we do what we do. I want you to understand why we do what we do so you can make your own variations for yourself, all right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down the seismic shifter tree on the bottom. You can copy pasta this if you want, but let's talk about a couple important things. Couple important things right down here. Paladin, we're going to use our protection skills, and every time we do that, our anomaly power goes up by 45% for 10 seconds. That's really important because everything we do is about anomaly power. Something to know about melee in general is that it is a skill. It is a skill. It is a skill. You could pretty much go to your skill tree, put a number 4 somewhere on this screen, and then it would say melee. It performs like a skill, meaning that it gets benefits from anomaly power. It also gets benefits from mods that increase damage from your skills, okay? And you need to understand that as a huge part of the melee build. It is a skill. So when you use a protection, it's going to make it so your melee power goes up, your earthquake power goes up, and other cool things such as your Moaning Winds here, that will also become more powerful. Your Shadow Comet will become more powerful. It affects a lot of different things in this game, okay? So after Paladin, something that I find really nice is Strong Arm of the Anomaly. After we use our class melee skill, we increase our resistance piercing by 15% by every enemy that is hit. So if you hit a bunch of people, your resistance piercing goes up a bunch, and since anomaly power benefits from resistance piercing, this is a really cool skill to have, all right? So let's keep moving here. Just kind of keep going through these, and I'll talk about ones that are really cool. Like this one down here. It's a melee build. So if we didn't double our class melee skill, I don't know why we would call it a melee build. All right. This one here is really cool too. Executioner. You want to make sure your damage goes up by 20% when enemy's health is below 30%. I find this to be very nice when going up against elites or bosses. Other cool things is you want to make sure you have blood donation on, because since we're going to be causing bleed so often, since our melee skill causes bleed, we're going to be healing a bunch. This is where a lot of our survivability comes from. You hit a bunch of enemies, they're all bleeding, they're doing a ton of bleed damage. That means that you're going to be getting a lot of health restored to you, which allows you to stay right in the middle of everything. Okay? Other cool ones. Protected by the anomaly. Increase your armor by your anomaly power. Well, since we have a ton of anomaly power here, our armor is going to go up a bunch too. So back to the class tree. Oh, you know, this one's pretty cool too. And honestly, we're going to talk about a variation which would make this even more cool. But as of right now, this is just a nice to have. And then finally, increase our seismic skills damage by 50%. This is a really big deal because we're going to be using Earthquake so much. And on the topic of Earthquake, before we go to our skills here, a couple more things to understand about the Devastator. He causes bleed when he does melee. Again, melee is a skill. Other things that are really important is that close range kills heal you for 24%. That is part of the reason why the melee build is so good, is because everything's close when you're punching it. So you are going to survive so well between the bleed caused by the melee skill, blood donation down here, and then the fact that anytime you kill something, you're going to be healed for it. It's an awesome, awesome combo that only the Devastator can do. So let's go to our skills here. We're going to run Earthquake, we're going to run Golem, and we're going to run Reflect Bullets. Okay? So if you take a look at Paladin down here, Golem and Reflect Bullets are there purely just to increase your damage. Golem's nice because it's going to make it so you take less damage, but really these here exist to make it so you're stronger, okay? So let's talk about, well, how do I know how much stronger it's going to be? So take a look at our Earthquake here. It does 151,000 damage. So let me show you why this is a big deal. So if I click Golem here, then I go back into my inventory, one thing you'll see is this 112 turned into 150, and then if you go to our skills here, this 150 turned into 174,000. Now, that might not seem like a bunch, but it becomes a really big deal when things start becoming multiplied over the top of themselves, okay? And again, that 25,000 might not seem like a big deal, but let me show you why it's a big deal. Take a look here. Our skill damage bonus is currently 1,874% or 1,875%. Now, let me press Golem again so you can really see how this gets really cool. Take a look at this bonus again. That's almost 2,600%. Now, still, you're like, okay, it's only 25,000 damage. Let's start talking about the inventory here now and why this is really cool. How this really starts to combo up. How you can basically hit, what, 3 million up against some of these creatures late game? It's this right here. We'll start with the armor here. Power assimilation. This is one of the most insane things that you could ever have on a melee build. Boost your anomaly power by 11,000 for each elite that's present on the battlefield. And to really drive home why this is such a big deal, take a look. I am sitting here in Heart of the Wild. We have one elite over here. And to be clear, an elite is anything that has more than one health bar. So if you take a look at this Alpha Perforo over here, and then take a look at our inventory, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Golem again. Now remember how it was 2,600 when we were just sitting in the menus? Well, because of power assimilation increasing our anomaly power, take a look at this. That 2,600 just went up to 2,900. This is for only one enemy. Now, picture some of these challenge tiers where there's like 15 of them on the field. There's a bunch of them swarming you. Let's say you got like 5 alphas on you, and then you got like 4 crawlers. You got a couple of birds. There's this stuff all over the place. This skill damage bonus will skyrocket because of this. Because of this power assimilation. On top of the fact, we have other things going on in the build that make it even stronger. Okay? So let's go back to the... Actually, you know what? We can stay here. We can do it right here. Screw it. So let's talk about more things that are going on in the build. We have power assimilation, which increases our anomaly power by 11,000 every single time there's an elite on the battlefield. And there's no limit to how far that stacks. We also have blood shock on to make it so anytime we hit something with Earthquake, it causes bleed. I know our melee here causes bleed, but melee is pretty close range. I found this to be a nice to have where whenever I use Earthquake, I have a lot more range. I can hit a lot more people from a distance that allows me to cause bleed on a lot more people. And the reason why bleed is such a big deal is if you take a look at some of our other equipment down here, we're going to start boosting our damage based off of whether or not they're bleeding. Okay? Well, let's keep working our way down here. On our chest piece, we have extra quake, which means we can do another Earthquake before it needs to cool down. And then it's a melee skill, so we're going to have Brawl, meaning that we're going to do more damage, 100% more damage every time we punch something. So you combo up Brawl with, where is it? This skill down here. Suddenly our melee skill is doing a lot of damage. Okay? So, keep going here. These last 3 pieces are a set. This is the Seismic Commander set. I'm using these 3 because it's what I have, but frankly, I think I would prefer these 3. We'll see what happens if I get the other pieces, but these 3 work really well together when you combo up with all the other skills that I want to use or all the other mods I want to use. So on our leg piece here, I have Tainted Blood and I have Captain Hunter. Tainted Blood, I believe, came with the Seismic Commander's legs, and this increases the damage dealt to enemies afflicted with bleed by 25%. So that's just a huge damage bonus. And then we also have Captain Hunter, which is also just a huge damage bonus, specifically to elites. Meaning that guy right over here that's ahead of us, he counts as an elite. It's not just bosses. Dudes like him, he counts, which is awesome. Now onto the gloves here. Untamed Power. Something really important to know about Untamed Power. Take a look. It says the damage is equal to 30% of your anomaly power. Well, we just talked about how high our anomaly power can go, right? Because we have power assimilation comboed up with the fact that we got our skills that increase our anomaly power. So you see how that 37,000 just jumped to over 50,000? Well, now imagine a bunch of elites on the field. Suddenly, Untamed Power is doing a ton of damage for you in the background. Now, to be clear, Untamed Power activates every time you use a skill. So every time I use Earthquake, you see that blue flash that comes out of me? That's Untamed Power kicking in. Now, remember what I said earlier about how melee is a skill? The blue flashed again, didn't it? So every time I use a skill, poosh, things get hit with an extra, what, 30% damage from my anomaly power. That's a really big deal. That's like a 30% damage buff for free. That's awesome. Oh, also when I use Golem, also when I use this, also like, see how many times I'm making this pop? That's crazy. Untamed Power is nuts and more people need to be freaking out about it. Okay. On to the next one here, Ground Crush. Increases the base skill of your Earthquake by 84,000. I mean, I don't know how much that actually is. It's like a huge damage boost when you take a look at how much that really adds to your Earthquake. And then when you also combo up how things multiply off of each other, Ground Crush is a huge thing since so much of our damage is going to come from Earthquake. And then for our final piece here, we have the Seismic Commander's footgear. And this one has second quake, which is awesome. And it's only going to be available on the Seismic Commander footgear. You can see it's a tier 3 mod. That means we're going to get 3 earthquakes instead of 2. And then Bloody Boost is going to increase our damage against enemies afflicted with a bleed by 15%. And then to round this all off, if you have all 3 of these things, you see how it says set bonus active? Increase damage towards enemies with bleed by 50%. So you're going to get 50% off of the set bonus. You're going to get 25% off of Tainted Blood. You're going to get 15% off of Bloody Boost, which is like a 90% damage boost. On top of the fact that you got power assimilation just doing crazy crap, and everything's going to be bleeding all the time because you're punching it and earthquaking it, and you can see this gets really crazy. Okay? Some other cool things and some, you know, we haven't even gotten to the really cool part of this yet, but something to know about how I use this. So if you take a look here, I'll earthquake and then not earthquake, I'll golem and then I use earthquake. But now you see how I'm like tapping the crap out of earthquake and it's not going? Oh my god, it's so slow. What's so cool about this? Well, there's a way we can make that way faster, okay? And the way to make that much faster is to be moving while you do it. So if I'm holding down on the W and then I keep pressing 1 over and over again, I'll quick cast. So take a look at this. I'll be like, bam, bam, bam. Isn't that way nicer? That's way nicer, isn't it? I think it is. And something that I love about Earthquake is that it has a really low cooldown, 7.7 seconds. Now, here's where you can really start going galaxy brain on this. So if you take a look at your skills here, there's a reason why I'm running both Reflect Bullets and Golem. Earthquake here has a 7.7 second cooldown, right? Well, one thing that's really nice is if you go ahead and you Golem, so you Golem, and then you go bam, bam, bam. Well, your Golem lasts 8 seconds. So about then is when you know that you need to use Reflect Bullets to get your second damage boost, and then you can do it again. So you're going to constantly have that 45% damage boost on everything that you do. So it affects Earthquake, it affects your melee, but it also, which blows my mind, also it affects your guns. So for something like Moaning Winds or something like Shadow Comet, these do base values of 387,000 or 210,000. These do base values of that. So when you go ahead and you start taking those and multiplying them by a lot based off of whether or not they're bleeding or whether or not you're getting more anomaly power, suddenly you're hitting sick damage numbers off of Moaning Winds that reach easily in the millions. I think I've hit around 3 million from one reload with Moaning Winds. So let's talk about some of the cadence of how we'll use these things now. So the main gun we're going to be using here, and by the way, weapon damage isn't really the big thing with this build. It's about punching things and using your abilities. The actual shooting doesn't really matter that much. But Moaning Winds, what it does is every time you reload, it creates a strong blast around you. Meaning, here, I'll show you what that looks like. You can go ahead and, oh, that's my punch. You can go ahead and shoot, and I'm going to press reload. Whoosh. That does a lot of damage when there's a lot of enemies around. All right? And then Shadow Comet, every time you shoot something, poof, a comet blops on their head, and then also creates an area of effect damage, or AoE damage. All right? So some cool things to know about how Moaning Winds works really well with melee. Now, Moaning Winds creates a radius around you, which is awesome for melee because you're just so close to stuff anyway. But you can fake a reload and still use Moaning Winds. Okay, so let's talk about how that works. So bop, bop. Now I'm gonna Moaning Winds, but then I can punch. I can interrupt it, and then I can start doing this with Shadow Comet again. Your melee or using a skill, again, since melee is a skill, will interrupt Moaning Winds. So if you didn't want to actually go through the whole 2 seconds it takes to reload, that's okay. So you can be like, pop, pop, pop. You see that? Those combos together make it so you're making the most out of your time, which is a really big deal. Hey, somebody followed on Twitch. Oh yeah, we stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SwingPoynt. You should go follow over there. We stream stuff all the time. I'd love to see you over there. So I'm going to show you what it looks like in a full match with 3 people so you can really see how powerful it is in a group. But let me show you kind of what it looks like by yourself so I can explain a couple of things. Because what I did before was I just recorded some gameplay for you to take a peek at when I wasn't, you know, vocalizing over the top of it. But let me go ahead and try to talk through this so you can understand why we're doing what we're doing. You can kind of see the flow of it. You can see me talking through it. And then we'll go into the gameplay. Okay? So here's dude over here. What I would do right here is go pop, 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 and go bam, bam. I do a reload here. Look, he's gone. This is CT15? Yeah, CT15. So you can go pop right there because my golem's about to be done. These guys are all dead. I can go ahead and pop, pop, and then reload again. And bam! And then, I mean, you can just really get a good flow going here. And then you try to always hit a bunch of people with your Earthquake. You don't really want to go ahead and waste it on one enemy if you don't have to. You always try to reposition yourself so you're hitting as many enemies as possible. I will say that this build performs better against beasts than it does against people, because people run away from you. And we can actually talk about some single player variations of this. And I'll do that right after this, so you can kind of just see what this looks like, though. But you're doing a lot of damage here, man. You keep punching stuff, keep reloading, getting Moaning Winds going here. And again, you can fake that reload, which is awesome. So you can see how stuff just falls over. One thing that's really interesting about this... Oh, wait, you're supposed to be charging the obelisk. One thing that's really interesting about this is that it performs better with more people on the field. So you kind of want to keep your dudes alive, your bad guys alive if you can, because they give you more power. So now let's show you what it looks like in a match. There's going to be 2 other people in there, so you can see how strong it is once these creatures have the max health that they're ever going to get. And it's on a map where there's humans and there's beasts, so you can kind of see the difference between the two. We stream every single night on twitch.tv/SwingPoynt. I'd love to have you guys over there. We can talk Outriders. You can ask me about Outriders if I'm doing something else. And if you'd like to subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos as I get them out, if you kind of like the why we do what we do type of explanations that I do, I'd love to have you guys here. And with that, without further introduction, here is the match that I did with 2 other people.
Looks like Kang's fighters have already set up camp. There's a sealed gate leading to the monument. Doesn't look like Kang had any luck breaking through. The gate's open. The Pax sure knew how to impress.
Outrider detected. Access granted.
Tiago, the monument's clear. I got the pod.
You did it, Outrider. And Kang's fighters are on the run. For the time being.
Blocking our land, interfering again. Haven't you done enough, Outrider?
You're still alive. Clearly not.
Barely capable, I should have never doubted that. But everyone slips eventually, even you. And when you do, I'll be there to watch you fall.
Show your face sometime, Kang. And I might start taking...
Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy this Devastator build. I hope it helps you out a bunch and you learned a couple of things about the game in case you want to do your own variations of things. Again, I would love it if you guys subscribe, join the channel so I can talk to you more about the game. You guys can teach me some more things about the game. Go ahead and leave some comments down below about some things that you think could be good or some things that you really like about the build, etc., etc. And with that, you guys are the best. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video that we do around here.